Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to take a moment to thank you for making this meeting. For the past few weeks, I've been in the midst of studying our employee metrics and have found an urgent matter that requires necessary attention and further analysis. As of late, we appear to be in a retainment slump with higher than normal turnover rates, which has widespread implications on the success of the company. This presentation will go into the data already obtained, what analysis will be required, and what we're going to need of our management. In the year of 2024, technology continues to evolve, requiring data-driven decisions for the successful operation of our organization. For Walt Disney Company in particular, technology has often been at the forefront of the business, instituting innovation in every corner of the company. An HR dashboard, similarly, would be instituting technology into the employee-facing side in order to achieve better business operation results. So let's break down what that would mean for us in particular. HR analytics, in particular, gather insight into the people side of business in relation to reaching the strategic goals for the organization. What this entails is the analysis of key performance indicators over time, along with a variety of demographic and tracking information to guide and inform decisions both in the short term and the long term. An HR dashboard is a graphic representation of such an analysis that can detail the strengths and weaknesses of particular strategies or implementations. At the Walt Disney Company, we suffer from large amounts of turnover, which should be discussed in further detail throughout the presentation, which is why our HR dashboard should focus on the tracking of metrics that can indicate changes in turnover and risk prevention metrics as well. On the right is a depiction of an HR dashboard example of studying recruitment strategies and is a reference of how generally the dashboard would be depicting information. So why is turnover such an important metric to be measuring? What we've depicted here are different financial slumps that the organization is in. What I'm arguing is that the high turnover rates are playing a role in both of these calculations. The stock prices for the Walt Disney Company are still at a lull, showing a very slow recovery that could be expedited through better retention strategies that would have impacts on savings, productivity, and engagement of our employees. Our profit margin additionally illustrates the current dire state that the company is in post-pandemic, as there's a stark difference from the results of 2019 before the closure of theme parks, then followed by a minor recovery, followed by the current downturn of 2023. If everything was working properly within the company, it's fair to say that there may be years of recovery to reach the peaks we once held, though there's not really an excuse to have a decrease in our margins after showing a promising resurgence. Some turnover rates to start. While the turnover rates at the company are estimated to be at 30 to 40%, the average for any industry is typically 20%, illustrating a large discrepancy. The graph at the right demonstrates the turnover up until 2022. Highlighted in red is the company's decision to terminate 7,000 employees across the company after the financial losses from returning to the operation of theme parks following the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the reported losses from the streaming platform Disney+. Both of the acquired data indicate excessive turnover both in and outside of the hands of Walt Disney Company executives. One of the reasons that turnover is such a pressing issue for any company is that turnover often leads to additional turnover from employees simply following suit or those being overworked from the excess workloads and expectations being placed on them. Why should we care? Turnover in general has both internal and external implications on a business. One of these reasons is damaged public perception. If the public sees the company has issues holding on to employees, this could be representative of how they treat their employees. Consumers often choose to support businesses based on social beliefs, so this can impact such revenue. Through a lack of retention, the company must think about the costs of replacement, including recruitment costs, onboarding costs, training costs, and costs until new hires become productive. Additionally, turnover causes issues such as increased work to be spread amongst remaining employees, which could be done through compulsory extended hours and general unfair expectations, which impact satisfaction, coping mechanisms, morale, and productivity. Right here, we have a few different snapshots of the employee experience, detailing the mental burnout that comes with the job due to the forced overworking of cast members. The first one we have, Splash Mountain operator Brian experiences a disconnect between his true personality and his Disney customer service persona. The company places notably high expectations on employees to maintain exceptional service and make an experience for guests, which here can come at the cost of the personal life for Brian. This here can be an indicator of the tough culture in the workplace that does not encourage bringing a personal touch to the job, possibly a lack of support from management, or even an indicator of the lack of resources employees can utilize to find a balance between their lives and their career. Next, an anonymous cast member shared their discontent with the hours cast members are forced to work, which can be telling of the lack of employees to fill in the gaps. This is a reminder that though layoffs may be a short-term solution to budget cuts, the resulting consequence often means remaining cast members having to pick up the slack, enduring excessive hours, which can wreak havoc on satisfaction and productivity levels. If these are any indication of the general opinion from our cast, it shows a lack of support from our end and a need to implement different tactics to avoid their eventual move to other places. But this likely would not occur before their burnout leads to the lowering of the return on investment through lower productivity and higher physical and emotional absenteeism. So, why should we be spending resources? Though through studying additional metrics on top of the very broad data that we currently have, we can narrow down the areas being most impacted, targeting solutions and minimizing waste in the resources spent. An HR dashboard in particular can efficiently and timely track data in real time, allowing for easy illustrations of changes that need to be made as soon as possible. In addition, this is necessary through actual implemented changes, as they will need to be monitored frequently in order to measure success. Costs for replacing employees will not be included in the HR dashboard, but will be supportive in selling this idea of its utilization to the profits that can be saved. This piece of data will be showing our stakeholders how much we are losing from a lack of retention and the potential for investing in retention strategies to avoid this. This will be calculated only once through the compensation and benefits team. While this would not be necessarily a changing metric that needs to be watched frequently, it would be a persuasive piece of information that could encourage investment into the turnover issue. Some of the most pertinent metrics to study will be uncontrollable versus controllable separation, as well as engagement surveys from employees. These will be discussed further in later slides, going into specific frequencies and necessity. As we move on, the following metrics and corresponding graphics utilize hypothetical data and mainly revolve around data that can be obtained from key departments at the theme parks, including attractions, foods, guest relations, and merchandise. So uncontrollable versus controllable turnover. This is necessary as it's going to give us an indication of what turnover is in and out of our hands. What would be in our hands would include separation for the competition due to lack of benefits or the work culture, while out of our hands may be termination due to misconduct. In particular, this metric would speak a lot to the operation we have and could provide much insight into the workplace culture, as the data is coming directly from employee feedback. Unlike other metrics where we can simply quantitatively analyze trends, the exit interviews allow for open-ended responses that can be referred to for future study while also being converted into easily digestible figures. As said before, this can be deduced from exit interviews and then input into our administrative logs, which would be very helpful for further analyzation. Engagement surveys. Engagement surveys will be given to our employees. Initially, this is going to give a baseline of how cast members are currently feeling in comparison to how they'll feel after changes are implemented. Questions may include how committed one is to the company or their satisfaction with the current conditions. Other questions will include how supported they feel by their management. This will be a key response in determining if there are courses or refreshes necessary for our management teams for things such as leadership skills or mentorship opportunities to ensure employees are receiving the support they need. In addition, there will be a short response option for employees to provide input or suggestions. These will be anonymous so as to encourage truthfulness and accuracy. These are going to give insight into the current mindset of the workers and their likelihood of leaving. Unlike the separation data, these need only be given out twice a year to give enough time for changes to settle and produce results. These will be sent out through our company emails with responses encouraged through some type of prize with submissions, such as entries in a raffle for like a specific tour on property, something to encourage and elicit responses. Alrighty, so different metrics continued. These metrics in particular will be gathered to analyze employees at risk of turnover and can allow for us to be proactive in retainment if certain expectations are not being met. In the following slides, we'll be diving into the benefit of analyzing key performance indicators, absenteeism, as well as new hire satisfaction and retention rates. Key performance indicators. They're a broad way of quantitatively measuring the outputs, which the company has several different options of focus on. In the theme parks, would this mean being measured through the number of guest serves, or possibly the number of guests dispatched in attractions, or maybe guest satisfaction surveys? Ultimately, this is an additional decision to be made, but if there are stark contrasts in the success of whatever the indication is, this means that there could be a higher risk of dissatisfaction and potential termination. These should be monitored monthly in order to gather enough data to support conclusions and be frequent enough to give our leadership time to implement proposed solutions. For the graphic, displayed is an example of utilizing guest satisfaction ratings for performance indication. Through monthly tracking, this can also show potential cyclical trends, which may require additional intervention to improve upon. For example, one could argue that non-peak seasons in the parks have higher satisfaction ratings, which our team could then study underlying reasons for and improve upon it. Absenteeism. Absenteeism can often be an indicator of future employee termination. So through measuring this, we can keep an eye on the employees who may be most at risk. This should be calculated every fiscal quarter to timely predict and resolve concerns to ensure longer tenure. If we're determined to analyze leading indicators to improve turnover, studying absenteeism should be promising in being proactive in retainment. New employee satisfaction rates are imperative at the Walt Disney Company, as these are indicators of the ability for new hires to adjust successfully to the culture at the company. If the culture does not provide ample onboarding familiarization and socialization opportunities to build foundational support, our satisfaction rate for new hires is going to demonstrate this. The analysis of the new hire satisfaction is directly correlated to new hire retention and can further be expanded to reflect retention of the longer tenured employees, as this would likely contribute to a negative workplace culture that does not appear to care about employee loyalty or satisfaction. This would be conducted through stay interviews or 6-month check-ins, which would be good indicators for this metric and would be proactive in ensuring acclimation. Next, we have new hire retention. The new hire retention metric similarly illustrates the culture's ability to allow acclimation and longevity with the company. Through tackling new hire retention and improving these rates, it indicates the potential to hold on to these employees for longer. Since it is specifically for first-year hires, this can be assessed annually alongside general retention calculations to differentiate the company's ability to hold on to newer employees. As mentioned in the previous slide, the establishment of a good culture can rely upon how well a company can satisfy and retain new hires. So this would be crucial to keep track of. This metric is also important as it can highlight trends within the modern workforce and specific issues that the company may be better at resolving than us. Illustrated here would be the cumulative design for an HR dashboard representing the Walt Disney Company and the investment in reducing turnover. So as you can see, these are the previous graphics that were provided on the slides before. But with the investment of an HR dashboard, we'd be able to timely look into the studies as we go along. Alrighty, so for obstacles. For a business that is still making a profit and known as a powerhouse in their industry, why does it seem sensible to invest in an HR dashboard? And why one which studies the turnover rates in particular? Previous slides showed the graphic and numerical depiction of high turnover rates gathered in the past, as well as a period of low profit returns resulting from it. Through analysis of turnover and metrics that coincide with and predict turnover, we as a company can implement changes which can be reflected in improved productivity and employee satisfaction, which both have been proved to improve return on investments. One of the biggest obstacles is the cost. Depending upon the vendor chosen, the range can vary from around $25,000 to $120,000 per year, since we do have such a large amount of employees to gather data on. These do look like big initial investments at first. The results, though, would be immense savings from proactive implementations of changes to reduce turnover and timely analysis of imperative issues. Information security in the modern age is going to also be an obstacle. Though, through utilizing a cloud storage base of our employee demographics and measures, we can try and be proactive about avoiding breaches and leaks. There would just need to be a thorough investigation of our third-party vendors, such as utilizing background searches and cross-referencing in order to find the safest provider for our needs that have good ratings and certifiable encryption methods. And for the conclusion, HR dashboards are increasingly becoming essential to business practices, especially if an organization wants to remain competitive. Through the utilization of such software, contributing metrics and predicting metrics to turnover can be studied and used alongside business strategies for change. While an HR dashboard may sound expensive, the issue of turnover can wreak havoc among consumer loyalty, as public perception can be affected, inflated workloads can reduce satisfaction and productivity, and general turnover can bring about large costs in recruitment, onboarding, and investment until productive. As turnover remains such a pervasive issue, we need to act fast in order to reduce financial losses and begin utilizing technology to our advantage. The applications within a dashboard can help to reduce turnover, transcending both tenure of employees as well as departments. So, from animatronics to attraction layouts to animation techniques, Walt Disney Company has remained a fearsome competitor due to the insistence to use what we have and make something new out of it. All of the aspirations of the company are utilized to tell a story. Investing in analytics should be no different, telling a story from a different lens and allowing us to be proactive and take charge of what we want to see. Alrighty, so that's all that I have for today. Thank you for all of your patience, and I'll go ahead and open it up for any questions. Thank you very much.